Good evening and welcome. I'm Sheila Balgobin and I am the Dream Decipherer. And I help people to crack the code of their sleep and dreams so that they can sleep sound and dream deep. This evening, I have an interesting dream, and it's reminded me of myself, funnily enough. And dreams occasionally do that when our client, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. This dream came from a friend, and it was a short dream. The dreamer was supposed to be DJing at a pirate radio station playing reggae music, but for some reason didn't have the right music and had to go home and find the right music and ended up turning up late and wasn't able to contact the management at the pirate station because he didn't have the telephone number. Now, interestingly enough, in the same dream, he meets up with the management of the station the next day in an inner city record shop by chance. And they had a conversation, and apparently the management was okay with the fact that the he turned up late for this radio gig. Now, what I mean by why this reminded me of me was that few years ago, I actually was a radio presenter playing reggae music on a radio station here in London. And occasionally, as therapists, our clients will dream for us. Now, in this particular case, the client didn't. He isn't a client. He didn't come to me for the purpose of uh, therapy, psychotherapy, and therefore looking at his dreams as part of that. But what often would happen with when I was working with counseling clients is that they would come in and we would have our initial meeting, and I would mention the fact that I worked with dreams if they were had dreams that they were wanted to work with or were curious about. And almost invariably they had a dream. And what was even funnier about it was that also invariably the dreams set the tone for me to understand what needed to be focused on with that particular client. Occasionally during the therapy sessions, other dreams would come up, which would either confirm the direction that the client and I were working in, or basically the dream was saying, "You got it wrong. You need to rethink this." And we would go back and go on a different tack. So, in that sense, this dream was a little bit of deja vu for me, taking me back to a time when I was a radio presenter. But some interesting things also came out of this dream, which, if I understand correctly, this is not a new dream for the dreamer. It is a dream from a few years ago. But nevertheless, looking at dreams, whether in the present time as they occur, or going back to them and looking at them in future, can provide more in-depth information. I've done that with my own dreams, even when I've understood what the meaning of the dream was. But to go back at a future date and look at that dream again, the different experience, time moved on, you gain a different perspective and can even pull out more information from the same dream. But what struck me about this particular dream was there was issues around time, issues around doing the right thing. The first being the the music itself, reggae music, which is mainstream now, but in some quarters even today, it's considered rebel music or music of the people, or the downtrodden. And there's something about that seems to run through this, because he's playing this music at a pirate station. So you're talking about rebel music, and you're talking about pirates or a pirate station, and again, outside of the law, running outside or working outside of the normal rules. Now, the other thing, I mean, for me personally, is that the the connection between reggae and Jamaica, that most people get, but Port Royal in Jamaica, which is sunk under the sea because of an earthquake hundreds of years ago, was a pirate stronghold, which, maybe that's an aside, but that's something to consider. Now, the other thing that struck me about this was, again, that there's this dissonance, and it was, he had the wrong music, so he was out of tune, out of step, if you will, with what he was supposed to be doing. So he was in the right place, but had the wrong music. So right place, wrong time, you might say. Now, the lateness, I found quite interesting as well, because there's this um, perception that music that is related to tropical climes of the Caribbean, people are always running slow and running late. So I just wonder if there's something of that, may have, this kind of cultural assessment may have entered into this. But it also makes me wonder whether lateness is a pattern that the dreamer follows in waking life. Something to think about. Maybe not, but it's interesting that time seems to be an issue throughout this dream. Now, the other thing was about a lack of communication, perhaps for the dreamer with himself to take the correct music, or there was some miscommunication where, for whatever reason, the dreamer didn't note the management at the station's telephone number. So there's something about missed communication or non-communication that seems to be an issue here. And finally, again, time and timing, perfect timing, the synchronicity at the end of the dream, where the dreamer actually runs into and meets the management from this very same pirate station that he was late arriving at. Now, they met by chance, serendipitously, you might say, but right on time. And the management was very understanding about this slip in schedule, which is quite nice and quite understanding. But you have to wonder, um, why this chance meeting took place, and whether this incident may have had some kind of relation to something that actually happened in real life, where there was a miscommunication or mistiming, but it was okay. Nevertheless, it worked itself out. So those are the things that struck me the most about this dream. And I'm sure there's much, much more that could be pulled out of it. But I think that is more than enough for the dreamer to go back and kind of pick this dream apart and see what it was about. And I'll be interested to hear from the dreamer afterwards if it was something of what I've said this evening actually resonated or not. We shall see. Anyway, that is my dream for tonight. And I hope I will see some of you on Sunday, the 9th, this coming Sunday, at the Dating and Relationships Conference, when I will be giving a presentation on the real reasons why we dream about our exes. It should be a lively conversation, I'm sure, or a lively talk anyway. But if you can make it, it's at the Holiday Inn on Kensington High Street. The details are on my page, Simply Improve Health with Sheila Balgobin, and the entry is free. So if you're not doing anything on Sunday, come on down. I'd love to see you and hear your feedback on my talk. In the meantime, take care. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Have a great evening and rest of the week, and I'll see you hopefully on Sunday. Take care. Bye bye.